Hey, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to another video. The Rockets lose to the Utah Jazz, 99 to 114. It was a kind of a close one. The game seemed more close than the scoreboard actually showed, and the fact that we kind of only lost by 15 points to the number one seed, which is the Jazz, which are a really good team on their own, is pretty remarkable. And obviously, KPJ had a lot more freedom this game, giving him he played more minutes than last game, and in this game he scored 27 points, had 8 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. What a monster stat line in just his second game as a Rocket. KJ Martin had 15 points, 10 rebounds, 3 steals, 1 block on Rudy Gobert, and that's kind of similar to the one he had on Boban. And so we can kind of expect KJ to have like a monster block every game. And Brown had a 15-point game. Patton had 13 points. And Nwaba, despite being injured with his wrist, he had 10 points, 8 rebounds, and he also had a block on Rudy Gobert. And we absolutely outscored the Jazz in the third quarter, considering that the Jazz are the best third quarter scoring team in the league. And it will be interesting to see how the Rockets will fare in the upcoming games.
Right, and you're right, this whole game was really crazy. The Rockets, before Nwaba told Silas that, hey, if you need me, let me just play, because we're severely undermanned, we had more players that weren't playing than players that were. But the Rockets had to play without Wall, without Oladipo, without Wood, without Tucker, without Gordon, without House, without Kurucs, without Exum, we had nobody that was actually veterans. We didn't have good veterans playing. It was literally all young players, and the only player that actually the Rockets had last year who was playing tonight was Ben McLemore, and he himself also didn't have that great of a shooting game. But that doesn't stop the fact that it was a really close, competitive game. The Rockets played with so much heart out there, and yeah, man, Kevin Porter Jr. He's a light. He's our future. The way that he's playing, he hasn't been shooting the ball from 3 necessarily well, but he is a good shooter. He was averaging a good amount of 3s in the G League, so we know he is capable of, but even without making his 3s, he's averaging 27 points, around that, scoring so much. Once he gets his 3-ball going, he's going to be really tough to stop.
Yeah, and I mean, this game, if anyone was still doubting it, proves that Kevin Porter Jr. is the real deal. This is proof that Kevin is really, one of the best young talents in the league. I mean, a lot of people aren't exactly aware of Kevin Porter Jr. for a couple of reasons. Number one, that he was playing in Cleveland, which is a small market. Not a lot of people really pay attention to them. And number two, that he was dealing with all of these off-court issues, and now he's in Houston. And I think over these next few games, people are really going to start to realize that Kevin Porter Jr. is a very special young talent, and Houston is very lucky to be able to get their hands on him for as little of a trade package that they gave up for Kevin Porter Jr. protected second-round pick. I mean, it's because multiple years ago, you have another fleece type trade where you trade for Harden, and now another fleece type trade with Kevin Porter Jr. And he's looking to have just almost the same amount of potential. And I think I'm very excited to see what Kevin Porter Jr. brings to the Rockets. And this, I think, was just a little bit of preview as to what Kevin Porter Jr. is going to bring to the Rockets in the future.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that Kevin Porter Jr.'s 3-point percentage will go up. I mean, he was shooting really well in the G League. I'm sure over the games, as he gets adjusted to the NBA pace rather than compared to the G League pace, then it will start to improve better. And I'm super excited to see that Celtics game, which is tomorrow, because of Christian Wood's potential return to the Celtics game, if I'm not mistaken. So it will be interesting to see how that dynamic plays. I'm sure it would kind of synergize as well with anyone. If you put anyone out there with Christian Wood, and they're going to thrive. And with the attention kind of split on Christian Wood, then KPJ can start to thrive, and all the focus won't be on Kevin Porter Jr. per se. But yeah, Kevin Porter Jr. made such amazing shots. I mean, he was driving to the rim with ease. He assisted at really freely, and so it's he was really talented. All these athletic moves. Kind of really lucky that, like you said, Kevin Porter Jr. is with us. But there are some things that Kevin needs to work on. I mean, he's only 20 years old, but maybe increase that defensive intensity, have a higher sense of awareness on the defensive end. But I'm sure that will improve, obviously. I mean, you have mentors like John Wall, who Kevin Porter Jr. looks up to. And so And John Wall really stresses being versatile on both sides of the floor. So it'll be cool to see Kevin Porter Jr. kind of develop that aspect of his game too.
Yeah, so again, I have to admit, KPJ played an awesome game. Shout out to John Lucas for helping him with all his personal problems, sending him to the G League, being there, talking to him, making sure everything's all good. Because I feel like with that kind of like mentality and that kind of like, you know, caringness that he has with our coaching staff, he knows that, man, this Houston is a great place. The people love me. The coaching staff loves me. They see a lot in me. So I feel like this is going to really like make his like personal problems go away. He's going to start focusing more on the ball game, improving himself, improving the whole team as a whole. So thanks again, John Lucas. And I cannot stress this enough, but we really, really did fleece the Cleveland Cavaliers for him. Got him for a 2022 top 55 protected second round pick. Oh my, this can go down as one of the greatest steals of like a lot more lopsided trades like ever, considering KPJ is still only on his second year of his rookie contract. We still have him for 2 more years. I think that last year is a team option, but you get the point. And we're getting him at such a young age with so much potential, with so much talent. I'm very, very positive that Cleveland and Cleveland fans are all regretting that trade dearly.
Yeah, and Kevin Porter Jr. I mean, again, we said, you know, playing in his play in the G League, a lot of us saw the potential that he has as a superstar. And to this day, I mean, it surprises me that Rafael Stone was able to pull him off for such little of a trade package. That's basically nothing, you know. Like it's such a heavily protected second round pick that it's pretty much no chance that it turns into anything in Cleveland. So we basically got a guy with more talent and potential than probably like many of the guys in the upcoming draft class, and probably more talent than just about every guy in the 2020 draft class, except maybe LaMelo Ball, or basically for free. And I think that I have to give major credit to Rafael Stone for pulling such a move, and it's really looking like it's going to be paying major dividends for us. And you know, I think what I would say for Rockets fans and as a whole for the NBA is to buckle up, because these next few months and these next couple seasons, the whole league is going to be put on notice of Kevin Porter Jr.'s talent.
Yeah, and let's talk about our team defense. The Utah Jazz have been on a tear these past few months, but we somehow held them to 114 points, and we specifically held Donovan Mitchell to 9 of 23 from the field and 3 of 9 from 3, and also had Bojan Bogdanovic to 3 of 10 from the field. So that's pretty amazing effort from our guys. I mean, it was evident of all the hustle there. So what are y'all thoughts on our team defense on that game?
Man, that game was really supposed to be ours for the taking. I remember we had a lot of great defensive stops in the fourth quarter. We brought it to a 4-point game with I think like 7 minutes, like 30 seconds around that time, and it all started like after that Nwaba like layup and one. I'm pretty sure he had to hit his free throws. We were supposed to win this game, but you know, after that we weren't really able to find a shot. They started double teaming a lot, and it was just not. It just didn't go our way. But I'm super proud of this team, super proud of like the heart that they play with. This team doesn't give up. And that's really, really like a good thing for any coaching staff to see. Even Steven Silas, he was actually really pleased with this performance, knowing that he only had 9 players, 8.5, because Nwaba was technically injured. So considering he had that versus pretty much a fully healthy Jazz team, which has the best record in the NBA, a top offense. They play pretty similar to how the Rockets played in like the 2017-2018 season, playing with just like, you know, taking very efficient, good shots, you know, threes and layups, not that many mid-ranges and stuff. So they kind of like copied that while still having an elite defense. The fact that we were able to make it such a close game shows a lot of promise for this team. And once we get our rest of the guys back, the squad, once the trade deadline passes by, if we make a couple of trades, then this team's going to be something scary.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, that defensive hustle that we've seen, that's very nice to see, because you know, with a lot of these young guys and a young team, the hustle and the energy level does come into question, because typically younger players don't quite have the same amount of energy level, the same amount of hustle as the veterans in the league. And so to see such a young group of people working and playing so hard with intensity is a really nice factor for the coaching staff and for us as fans to see as far as their future is concerned. And I like this defense a lot, you know. I mean, before that Wood injury, the Houston Rockets had like the best defensive rating in the league after that Harden trade. And I think we can get back to that level, and I think that was not a fluke. I think this is something that we can definitely keep up. When you've got guys with defensive talent, when you've got guys with good perimeter defense like John Wall, Victor Oladipo, Eric Gordon plays good perimeter defense, and the young guys too playing scrappy defense. Kenyon Martin Jr. Showing his presence on the defensive end. I think we have a very nice defensive core for the future, and I think this is something that we can definitely keep up and build as our identity on the defensive end.
Definitely. It really speaks volumes to how Silas is really coaching these guys. Despite being on a 14-game losing streak, they're still trying their best, giving it their all. And that's really all we can ask for as a fan, that to give it their best, really. So, I mean, it's really nice to see that. And I just want to talk about what do you think about Justin Patton? Do you think he has a spot in the Rockets' future plans? I personally think he could be a decent backup center for us in the future, but what do y'all think?
Yeah, pretty much the same. He's pretty much the backup center. He's there. He's good height. Pretty sure he's like 6'11". So he does a good job at the center position. I feel like he's not as aggressive when it comes to getting rebounds. And again, he's still fairly young, so he can definitely develop that. But definitely once he gets that like intensity in the paint, because he already is a good like spacer. So he knows how to do the pick and roll very well. He's good at spacing the floor. He knows how to shoot some threes. So I feel like if once he does work on the off season, or maybe just like throughout this as like a primary like rebounder, he'd be a great backup center for the Rockets.
I like Justin Patton as, like you said, like a backup center. Again, there are a lot of holes in his game, and I think that is what's going to keep him from being a starting center in the future. Especially also, I mean, of course, there's Christian Wood, but just saying, like in a vacuum, as far as his play, I think the holes in his game will keep him from being a starting caliber center. But I think he does have a lot of room to grow, and I think with this squad and the coaching staff around him, I think Justin Patton can really develop and become like a rotational big man for the Houston Rockets in the future.
Yeah, and I also think KJ Martin's game is kind of understated here. I mean, he had a double-double, and he's young too, just like Kevin Porter Jr. And if he can develop that three-point shot, he's going to be really good, like one of those great 3-and-D guys, and he has amazing hops. Like, the fact that he's able to block big guys like Rudy Gobert and Boban just is really crazy. And so if he can really work on that three-point shot, I think he'll be really good for us to come. And I think that he can definitely be in our starting lineup in the future if he does work on that.
I'd love to see him as like a primarily like 4, playing next to Christian Wood, having Jay Jonte at the 2, and KPJ at the 1. And honestly, I want to see more from Mason Jones. That's actually one thing I really want to finish off on. I feel like Mason Jones, ever since like his game in San Antonio where he dropped like 25, he's been playing very like passively. He hasn't been taking that many shots, especially from 3 with his confidence, because we know very well that Mason Jones is a very capable scorer. He knows how to score. That's like his whole, like pretty much his whole game for right now. Yeah, he tries on the defensive end, but his main focus is scoring. But when he's really like not doing that out there, he's being really passive. He should be more confident in his shot. And honestly, what better time to just be confident than with your entire team being depleted with injuries? I mean, it's not like it's a close game and he's trying to like, pass the ball to like the star player. Because if there really isn't that many people, if it's like a blowout game, which it has been for the past like couple games, just start shooting, get your rhythm and all, because I really want to see more from him.
I think that KJ Martin and his presence has been very, very good. I mean, for someone who was a late second round pick, most teams don't expect much out of a late second round pick, but Kenyon Martin Jr. has been very good for us. Obviously, he still does have room for improvement, and he does have some things that he does need to work on. But I think the production that he's been giving for us so far is really promising, and I am really looking to see what he can do. And I think that for us, if he can keep working on his game and keep taking big strides in his game, I think he could either be like a power forward, or starting something like that, or one of our rotational bigs. I think as far as the big position goes, the power forward or center position, I think Houston is very, very well set with Wood, Kenyon Martin Jr., maybe Justin Patton, and maybe if you could trade for a big man with Oladipo and one of those guys.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine KJ Martin, like, if we ever run a small ball lineup ever again, he can definitely be that center guy in a small ball lineup. He's extremely versatile. He has a great build, things like that. And like you said earlier, I agree with everything you said with Mason Jones. It was great that we signed him to a 10-day. But yeah, like you said, he does have some flaws in his game, but I still have faith in him. He has a great work ethic, and that's really good to see from a young player. He went undrafted, and so he has a lot of chip. He plays with a chip on his shoulder, and he'll get better. Obviously, I mean, these guys are going to get more and more playing time as the season goes on, since we don't really have much of a chance in the playoffs. But I just wanted to ask y'all a quick hypothetical to end off the video. So where would you rank KPJ under considering all the players under the age of 25. And I have a list for y'all, and let me know. So obviously I have Tatum, Luka Doncic, Zion, Jaylen Brown, Simmons, Booker, Hero, MPJ, LaMelo, Turner, Ayton, Bridges, OG, and Anunoby. Sabonis, Bam Adebayo, Simmons, Shai, Gilgeous-Alexander, Ingram, Mitchell, Fox, Trey, John Morant, Jamal, Jamal, and Collins. And so I was wondering, where would y'all rank KPJ in that list of guys under 25? And do you think he has potential to be in that like top 10, top 5 range?
Okay, so I heard Hero. I would have him over that. And I feel like right now he's on the same level as like an MPJ, a little less than like Jamal Murray and Paul. But you know, he's 20. You're looking at a list of players under 25. He's 20. He still has 5 whole years to get there. If we're talking about 20, 21-year-olds, he's definitely like a top like 8. I can tell you that off the top of my head. But he definitely has a lot of room to improve. And in a system, in a team that I think is going to rebuild now, and they're going to focus a lot on player development, he's going to become definitely one of like the top players in the next 5 years. Honestly, I definitely see him making like an all-star game in the next few years, and you know, maybe an all-NBA team if the team is good enough. And yeah.
I think Kevin Porter Jr. I think he has a little bit. I think he has to play a little bit more before we can start, putting him in the conversations of, the elite guards that are under 25 in the NBA. Like you said, Jamal Murray, Shea, Ja, Luka, those guys. I think he has a ways to go before we can put him into those conversations. Now, do I think he has the potential to get to those guys' level? Absolutely. He has sky-high potential. And I think, once Kevin Porter Jr. starts to get more acclimated to the NBA game, and once he starts to, sort of hit his stride as an NBA player, I think he can definitely become one of the league's best guards under the age of 25. And again, like you said, he is just 20 years old. He has plenty of years to develop and get better. And you never know when he takes that leap to become from just like young talent to being like a superstar NBA player.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of y'all points, and that's gonna be it for the video. Thank y'all for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Peace.